Have you ever looked into the eyes of someone you loved with everything you had and realized they had already decided your life didn't matter? I have. I still remember the smell of the rain that evening. My husband and I were driving across town after another argument. I had no idea that within minutes, everything I knew about my life would disappear. Before we go any further, have you ever had someone you trusted completely turn your world upside down in a single moment? Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another powerful true life story. David pulled the car into an old bus stop on the edge of town. No stores, no restaurants, just a rusted bench and a broken streetlight. He turned off the engine, reached into his wallet, and dropped a wrinkled $20 bill onto my lap. "Take it," he said. "It's all you're getting." "What are you talking about?" His face was cold, almost rehearsed. "I'm done, Emily. You'll figure something out." "David, you're angry. Let's go home and talk." "There is no home for you anymore. I've already moved on." 3 words erased 7 years of marriage. He reached across me, grabbed my handbag from the back seat, and tossed it onto the sidewalk. My suitcase wasn't there, neither were my clothes. He had already planned everything. Before I could say another word, he drove away, and I watched his taillights disappear into the rain. He never came back. I checked my purse, $20, my license, lip balm, a dead phone, nothing else. At 31, I had no home, no family nearby, and no idea what to do next. I sat on that bench for hours, crying, not because I feared sleeping outside, but because I couldn't understand how someone who'd promised to love me forever could leave me like I never mattered. Looking back, that lonely bus stop wasn't the end of my story. It was where my new life quietly began. But that night, all I could see was darkness. An old city bus finally pulled in. The driver asked if I was okay, a simple question that almost broke me because nobody else had asked. I rode with no destination, just to not be alone. When the route ended, he handed me a bottle of water and a sandwich from his own lunch bag. "Whatever you're going through," he said, "don't let tonight define the rest of your life." I found the cheapest motel I could afford. The room smelled of old carpet, but it had a lock on the door, and for the first time since David left, I felt safe. When I finally charged my phone, there were no missed calls, no messages, nothing. Then I checked our joint account. 0 balance. Every dollar we'd saved was gone. This hadn't been a decision made in anger. It had been planned. I cried until sunrise, and somewhere in those tears, I made myself one promise. If I survived this, no one would ever have that kind of power over me again. The next morning, checkout was at 11, and I stepped outside with the one bag I had left. I sat on a park bench and wrote 3 things on an old receipt: find work, find somewhere safe, don't give up. By afternoon, my feet were blistered, and every business had said no. I started wondering if David had been right, if I really wasn't enough, if I'd become someone people could simply leave behind. That's when an older woman named Margaret sat beside me. She could tell I wasn't okay, and when I told her the truth, that my husband had left me with nothing, she handed me a business card. "I own a small cleaning company," she said. "The pay isn't great, but if you're willing to work hard, be at this address tomorrow at 7. Someone once gave me a chance when I needed one. Maybe it's my turn." For the first time since that rainy evening, hope quietly returned. Cleaning office buildings wasn't glamorous, my back ached, my hands went raw, but every paycheck reminded me I was rebuilding my life with my own 2 hands. I rented a room in a shared house and paid my rent on time every month. One evening, Margaret asked what I'd done before. I told her I'd handled the finances for my ex-husband's construction company. Her eyes lit up. She'd been avoiding her own company's books for years, and she asked if I'd take a look. That weekend, I organized years of invoices and uncovered thousands in unpaid accounts. Margaret sat in silence, flipping through my reports, then looked up. "Emily, you just saved my company." For the first time since David left me at that bus stop, someone saw value in me for who I was, not whose wife I'd been. From there, Margaret trusted me with more schedules, clients, contracts, finances. I worked by day and studied at night, borrowing library books on business, leadership, and accounting. The pain never disappeared, but it stopped controlling my future. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? I started asking, what can this teach me? Nearly 2 years after David left, I walked into a jewelry store and sold my wedding ring. I expected sadness. Instead, I felt free. I had finally let go of the woman I used to be. Just when life felt stable, Margaret called, her voice trembling. I need you at the office. It's urgent. When I arrived, she told me she'd been diagnosed with heart failure 3 months earlier. She'd been watching me for 2 years. She said how much I cared about the company and the people in it. She slid a folder toward me. She wanted me to become general manager. There has to be someone more qualified, I said. There isn't. I'm not looking for the best resume. I'm looking for the best leader. I accepted, terrified. Not everyone welcomed it. One supervisor crossed his arms in my first meeting and asked what made me think I could run the company. I don't know everything, I told him. I'll make mistakes, but I'll never ask any of you to work harder than I'm willing to work myself. I worked beside the crews, answered calls, visited job sites, and listened because the best ideas came from the people doing the work, not the executives. Within a year, profits had nearly doubled. A year after that, Margaret retired, gathering the whole staff to say, "This company has never belonged to one person. It belongs to every hardworking person in this room. And today, I'm trusting Emily to lead it into the future." The applause was heartfelt, and for the first time in my life, I truly felt like I belonged. The years that followed moved fast. We expanded into new cities, and our small cleaning business grew into a multimillion-dollar company employing hundreds of people. Reporters and conference organizers kept asking what inspired me to build it. I always gave the same answer. The worst day of my life became the foundation of my greatest success. I never mentioned David. He no longer deserved space in my story. Then one afternoon, my assistant brought in a cream-colored envelope, an invitation to my hometown's family reunion. Everyone would be there, including David. Part of me wanted to throw it away. Another part whispered, "Go, not for revenge. Go because you're no longer the woman who left that town with $20 and a broken heart." I called Margaret that night. She laughed. 10 years ago, you couldn't even look in the mirror without doubting yourself. Today you lead hundreds of people. The only person who still doesn't fully see how far you've come is you. The next morning, I told my assistant to clear my schedule. I was going home. David had no idea who I'd become. The morning of my flight, I stood in front of my mirror, not nervous, just wanting to remember the woman staring back at me. 10 years earlier, I'd stood in front of another mirror wondering why I wasn't enough. Today, I knew my worth. As my driver loaded my suitcase, a message came in from the reunion organizer. David would be there. 10 years, and not one phone call, not one apology, not one question about whether I'd survived. The reunion was held at the same hall where David and I had celebrated our engagement. As I stepped inside, conversations faded. Relatives stared, then recognized me, then walked over, some warm, some ashamed they'd never checked on me after the divorce. The past can't be changed, I told them, but we can choose to do better moving forward. Then the room went quiet. David had walked in. Older, tired, nothing like the man I remembered. His eyes widened when he saw me. Before he could speak, someone nearby told him proudly that I owned one of the fastest-growing service companies in the region, with hundreds of employees, and that I'd be speaking at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon the next day. His face lost all color. He finally came over. "Emily, you look incredible." Neither of us spoke for a moment. Then, "I've wanted to talk to you for years. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I thought I was choosing a better future. I was wrong. I've regretted that day more times than I can count." I'd imagined this conversation for years, anger, tears, demands for answers. Instead, I felt peace. "The man who left me at that bus stop believed he was taking everything from me," I said. "But he wasn't. He was leaving behind the woman who would eventually discover who she really was." He lowered his head. "I'm sorry, I know that isn't enough." "No," I said gently, "it isn't, but I forgave you a long time ago. Not because I wanted him back, because I refused to let what happened control the rest of my life. No one should ever treat another person the way you treated me." He had no answer, And for the first time, silence said everything. A few minutes later, the reunion organizer invited me to say a few words. I wasn't expecting it, but I accepted. Standing before the room, I recognized almost every face. Some had watched me grow up, some had watched me disappear, and now they were watching me come home. I've been asked many times how I built a successful company, I said. The truth is, it didn't begin with success. It began with heartbreak. 10 years ago, I believed my life had ended. I was wrong. It had only just begun. I told them about Margaret, how she gave me a chance when I had nothing, and how one act of kindness can change someone's future. Then I smiled. That's why I'm happy to announce that next year, our company will open a regional office right here in this town. The room erupted in surprised applause. It will create new jobs and launch a scholarship and mentorship program for women rebuilding their lives after hardship. Some people wiped away tears. Others stood to applaud. I wasn't trying to prove anyone wrong. I was trying to become the person Margaret had once been for me. When the applause faded, I said one last thing. Success isn't the best revenge. Healing is. Growth is. Choosing kindness after you've experienced pain is. When the reunion ended, dozens of people came over to thank me, some apologizing for never reaching out, all of them seeing me, finally, for who I truly was.